Another emotionally intense episode of Sister Wives is about to air. Additionally, a recent teaser suggests new conflict between Jenn, Meri Brown's best friend, Kody Brown, and Meri Brown. Meri discusses a tipping point that made her feel fed up with the ongoing dispute in a clip from Sunday's show. She talks about having a tough talk with Robyn and Kody that made her decide to leave and turn to her attorney. However, what specifically transpired between Kody and Meri that resulted in this cutoff? And why is Jenn now the target of Kody's annoyances? Continue reading to learn more. Meri disclosed more information regarding the conflict between her and her ex-husband, Kody, in recent Sister Wives episodes. During the Coyote Pass auction process, Kody made an unexpected request. Meri claims that he requested that she sign a confidentiality agreement. As the land transaction proceeded, she thought he intended to silence her and keep her from speaking up. Meri said she was hurt and perplexed by the moment. Kody subsequently clarified that Janelle pressured him to either accept Meri's conditions or go forward without her. He even acknowledged that he was thinking about selling the land without Meri and Christine's approval through a covered agreement with Janelle. Robyn, who referred to herself as the big fat rock in the way, declined to take part until everything was fair. Additionally, Janelle explained that although Kody might have compelled the transaction, she maintained that it was wrong. Meri became emotionally exhausted as a result of this pressure, and Jenn encouraged her to take a break. In order to decompress, Meri ultimately took a trip to New York City, which allowed her to gather herself before facing the Browns once more. The core of the problem will be revealed to Sister Wives viewers in Sunday's episode, when Meri talks about a heated exchange with Kody. There have been some conversations that I've had with Kody, she admits in an interview with Jenn. Even that one with Robyn, I simply said, I'm done. This is not something I will handle. She remembers telling Kody, I'm not your wife, to terminate the conversation. I also don't need to hear this. I'm finished. You can speak with my attorney going forward. As she explains why the conversation struck such a deep chord, Meri becomes tearful in her confessional. He pursued Jenn, she claims, and I'm not going to tolerate that. But Kody has a different perspective. He admits that Jenn has been a bad influence for years. He acknowledges, it's difficult for me to not view Jenn as an enemy. He maintains that Meri encouraged other sister wives to leave Kody after Jenn encouraged her to do so. Kody confessed that he remembered Meri instructing Janelle to go. She told Janelle to empty her bank account and flee back in Vegas, Kody said. In the final version of the Brown family saga, the external voices that influence the lives of the individuals within the multiple marriage will be included in addition to marriages, divorces, and sisterly rivalry. New information also suggests that one of those outside voices might have played a larger part than fans previously thought. Jenn Sullivan, Meri Brown's longtime best friend and business partner, is the unexpected person that Kody Brown is suddenly blaming. Surprisingly, according to insiders, Kody now thinks Jenn was a big factor in Meri's decision to permanently leave him. Fans of Sister Wives, who have long seen Jenn and Meri rely on one another throughout some of the Brown family's hardest moments, are furious about the accusation. The accusation, however, begs the deeper question. Did Jenn genuinely want Meri to become independent, or is Kody pointing the finger at her to cover up his own role in the breakup? Let's examine the true circumstances behind this startling charge. The bond between Jenn and Meri that Kody found too strong. Viewers witnessed Meri Brown's battle with loneliness for years. She grew more and more alone as the Brown family grew. Mariah, her only kid, moved out. She became less friendly with Kody. She also appeared to lose her position in the household. Enter Jenn Sullivan, Meri's devoted friend who ended up saving her life. Meri's loneliness, sadness, self-doubt, and emotional tragedies, including the notorious catfishing incident that almost destroyed her life, were all experienced by Jenn. In the aftermath, Jenn provided stability when the family was unable to, while Kody and the other spouses distanced themselves from Meri. As the years passed, Jenn's influence became more pronounced. Jenn became Meri's anchor after they traveled together, ran businesses together, and hosted Friday with Friends live streams. Meri was shielded from the emotional turmoil of the Brown home by their friendship, which turned into a haven. What about Kody? It is said that he perceived it as a danger. A husband losing authority over a story at one point, he ruled fans of the program are aware that Kody Brown is a man who enjoys order, authority, and clarity, at least when he is the one establishing them. He blamed Christine's disobedience for leaving him. He accused Janelle of being too independent when she left. Meri found fault with everything but himself when he emotionally collapsed. Insiders claim that he is now listing Jenn among those who undermined his relationship. According to Kody, Jenn pushed Meri to demand emotional support, to speak up for herself, and to acknowledge the years of neglect she had been subjected to. And this was intolerable to Kody. He saw Jenn as more than just a buddy. She became into an influence who told him things he didn't want Meri to hear. He apparently believes that Meri might have stayed longer, possibly forever, had it not been for Jenn's unwavering support and tough love encouragement. On the other hand, a lot of admirers contend that Meri stayed much longer than she ought to have, specifically because she lacked support initially. From Kody's perspective, Meri's development appeared to be rebellion. Meri has changed significantly in the past 3 years. She transformed from an internalized woman drowning in emotional neglect to a woman who discovered self-assurance, autonomy, and adventure. It wasn't an isolated transformation. Every step of the way, Jenn was at her side. Jenn was supporting Meri from the time she shared her initial self-assured solo photos to her new self-assured businesswoman persona and her audacious statements about her own value. The audience also noticed it. It was the first time in years that Meri's makeover felt genuine. She was grinning once more, but this time it was an open, sincere smile that reached her eyes rather than the fake one she wore to family gatherings. Fans thought this was lovely. It was horrifying to Kody, because the authority he held over her vanished with every ounce of Meri's rediscovered self-assurance. He no longer perceived a docile, optimistic wife seeking reconciliation. He observed a woman who didn't wait for approval anymore, and he saw Jenn as the driving force behind that change. Kody's realization that he had lost Meri indefinitely, according to sources. Kody became increasingly irritated every time Meri sought Jenn's opinion before making a choice. He detested Meri's preference for Jenn's viewpoint over his own. Jenn's constant physical presence, while he was something he detested. He also detested the fact that Meri sought emotional solace outside of the family. According to reports, Meri's declaration that she no longer felt emotionally wedded to him and that she didn't want to live in limbo was the last straw. Kody didn't anticipate that, since he thought Meri would fight to keep the marriage intact. Rather, she left with composed assurance. According to insiders, Kody thought Jenn had pushed, coached, or even tricked her into leaving. It seemed unthinkable to Kody that Meri had at last developed the emotional fortitude on her own. She must have been persuaded by someone, he thought, and he quickly determined who the culprit was. Jenn answers without answering, as is typical of her. Jenn Sullivan has not responded to these charges directly. Her silence, however, is telling. She keeps sharing nice, encouraging things, going to events, and posting with Meri instead of getting involved in turmoil. Supporters are able to read between the lines. Her devotion is more powerful than any argument. She wouldn't be proudly grinning next to Meri, unfazed by the commotion, if she had truly ruined the marriage. Rather, she is flourishing and assisting Meri in her success. Kody appears considerably more irritated by that alone. Views of fans regarding Kody's story isn't even remotely appealing to the Sister Wives fandom. Fans are largely in agreement on 3 points on social media. No one had to push Meri away. Kody had already pushed her away with his emotional desertion. Instead of leaving, Jenn helped Meri recover. After years of abandonment and isolation, she provided assistance. Kody is sidestepping. He is placing the blame on someone who genuinely cared about Meri, rather than admitting how little work he put into the marriage. Many followers feel that Kody's latest tactic to evade responsibility is to place the blame on Jenn. After all, he openly acknowledged that he no longer saw himself as married to Meri. He shunned closeness. He declined to make amends. He brushed her tears aside. Why, then, would he want her to stay? The reality, Kody is averse to, simply said, Jenn did not cause Meri's marriage to fail. Kody did. Years before she really left, he abandoned her emotionally. He no longer referred to her as his wife. He lost interest. He gave up trying. Jenn didn't push Meri away. Instead, she just made it painfully clear to her. Long before the formal or public divorce, the emotional one began. All Jenn did was hold Meri's hand during the procedure. Why Jenn makes Kody feel threatened to be clear. Kody has never been good with strong personalities. He favors partnerships in which he is valued, respected, and appreciated. Even though he might not acknowledge it, he enjoys having power, particularly over his wife. That power dynamic was upset by Jenn. Meri ceased begging for crumbs now that Jenn was around. Excuses were no longer acceptable to her. She gave up on the idea that one day Kody would regard her like a partner once more. Meri was able to cease enduring emotional malnutrition thanks to Jenn's presence. Kody perceived that empowerment as meddling. It appeared to be healing to the outside world. The freedom Kody never expected in Meri's life now, Meri has evolved into a new, unreserved version of herself since splitting from Kody. She takes trips. She laughs uncontrollably. She puts a lot of effort into her enterprises. She surrounds herself with positive people. She establishes genuine boundaries. Above all, she was no longer emotionally impoverished. And Jenn, who has been by her side the most regularly. Together, they go to events. They investigate cities. They create companies. They produce content. They don't look back as they proceed. Compared to any romantic relationship Meri has had in the last 10 years, this partnership is stronger. This bond is evidence that Jenn won in Kody's eyes. In actuality, though, nobody prevailed. No competition existed. It was just a woman taking back her life. The decision, the claim made by Kody Brown against Jenn Sullivan, is more about remorse, guilt, and wounded pride than it is about the truth. It's easier to blame Jenn and to acknowledge that he lost Meri long before she left. The marriage was not destroyed by Jenn. She assisted Meri in regaining her confidence. She made her realize how valuable she was. She assisted her in leaving a partnership that provided little affection and even less work. Kody had years, decades, to mend what was wrong if he wanted to keep Meri. However, he didn't. He is now blaming the one person who provided Meri with what he was unable to support: stability, friendship, and strength, rather than confronting the reality. Because of this, the story isn't truly about Jenn or Kody. It's not Meri finally entering into a life where she could breathe after mustering the bravery to leave one that no longer nourished her spirit.